I'm 80 years old, and I need to tell you something that's going to sound harsh. Every time you say someday, you're lying to yourself. I know because I spent 60 years believing that lie. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 80 years old, and 3 months ago, I collapsed in my garage. Heart attack. The doctor said I was lucky. As I lay there on the hospital bed, staring at the fluorescent lights, all I could think about was a list I'd been keeping for 47 years. A list of things I was going to do someday. That list is still in my desk drawer, untouched, unfinished, and now, most of it never will be. Let me tell you what happened and why I'm begging you not to make the same mistake I did. When I was 33 years old, I made a list. It was 1978. I'd just gotten promoted to assistant manager at the manufacturing plant, and my wife Linda was pregnant with our second child. Life was busy, chaotic, full. I remember sitting at our kitchen table one Sunday morning, drinking coffee, and I started writing down all the things I wanted to do. Learn to play piano. Linda had played beautifully, and I'd always loved watching her fingers move across the keys. Take Linda to Paris. She'd grown up looking at pictures of the Eiffel Tower in her grandmother's photo album. Write a book about my grandfather's stories from World War II. He'd told me everything before he died, and I promised him I'd preserve those stories. Learn woodworking. Build furniture with my own hands. Teach my kids to fish properly, the way my dad taught me. Take that cross-country road trip, stopping at every small town that looked interesting. Start that garden Linda kept talking about. I folded that list and put it in my wallet. I was going to start soon, just not right then. The baby was coming. Work was demanding. We needed to save money. There was time, plenty of time. I was 33. I thought I had forever. When I was 41, I pulled out that list again. It was 1986 now. 8 years had passed. I hadn't crossed off a single item. The kids were in middle school. Work had gotten even busier. I was plant manager now. Linda was working part-time at the library. We were in the thick of it, you know. Soccer games, parent-teacher conferences, mortgage payments, car repairs. I looked at that list and thought, soon, when things calm down, when the kids are older, when I get that next promotion and we have more money saved. So I waited. When I was 52, the kids were grown. Sarah was finishing college. Tom had just started his first real job. It was 1997. Linda and I were alone in the house for the first time in 24 years. I remember finding that list while cleaning out my desk one Saturday. It was yellowed now, the creases worn soft from being folded and unfolded over the years. Look at this, I said to Linda, showing her. Remember when I wrote this? She smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes. I remember. We should start doing these things, I said, now that we have time. She nodded. We should, but I was up for regional manager. It meant more travel, more responsibility, but significantly more money. Just a few more years of pushing hard, I told myself, and then we'd have the financial security to really enjoy retirement. Then we'd do everything on the list. So I waited again. I took the promotion. I traveled 3 weeks out of every month. Linda kept working at the library, kept tending to her own routine. We'd have dinner together when I was home, watch some TV, go to bed. We talked about someday all the time. Someday we'll take that trip to Paris. Someday I'll learn piano. Someday we'll start that garden. Someday, someday, someday. When I was 61, I retired. It was 2006. I'd worked for 40 years. Linda retired from the library too. Finally, we had time. Finally, we could start checking things off that list. I found a list again, now stored in my desk drawer at home. I smoothed it out and showed it to Linda. Let's do it, I said. Let's start now. She looked at the list for a long time. Then she looked at me. Robert, my mother is sick. She needs me. Can we wait just a little while longer? Her mother had early-stage Alzheimer's. Of course Linda needed to help. Of course we'd wait. Just a little while longer. Linda's mother passed away 2 years later. By then, Linda wasn't feeling well herself. She was tired all the time. Doctors couldn't figure out why at first. Tests, more tests, specialists. When I was 65, Linda was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Everything stopped. The list didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was getting Linda through treatment. Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. 2 years of fighting. 2 years of holding her hand in hospital rooms, of sleeping in uncomfortable chairs, of praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in. She beat it. The cancer went into remission when I was 67. We celebrated with a quiet dinner at the Italian restaurant where we'd had our first date 46 years earlier. We can start that list now, I said. Linda smiled, but she looked so tired. So much older than I'd realized. Let's just rest first, she said. Let's just enjoy being home. I agreed. She needed to recover. We had time. We were only 67. Still young, really. When I was 72, Linda died. It wasn't the cancer. It was a stroke. Sudden. Massive. She was planting bulbs in the front yard, finally working on that garden we'd always talked about, and she just collapsed. I found her there in the dirt, her gardening gloves still on her hands, a trowel beside her. She was 70 years old. I stood at her funeral and looked at all the people who came to pay their respects. They talked about what a wonderful person she was. How kind. How patient. How she'd always helped others. And I stood there thinking about that list in my desk drawer. We never went to Paris. She never heard me play piano. We never took that road trip. I never wrote my grandfather's stories. We waited. And while we waited, life happened. And then it ended. After Linda died, I did what a lot of widowers do. I kept busy. I volunteered at the library where she'd worked. I helped Tom with his kids. I played golf with a few guys from the old plant. I filled my days with activity so I wouldn't have to think about the emptiness of my house. But that list stayed in my drawer. I couldn't look at it. It hurt too much. When I was 75, my old friend Paul died. Heart attack on the golf course. He was 73. We'd known each other since high school. 57 years of friendship. At his funeral, his daughter showed me something. It was Paul's bucket list, written on a napkin from some bar, dated 1982. He'd checked off exactly 2 items out of 17. He always said he'd do these things when he retired, she told me, crying. But then Mom got sick, and then he had his knee replacement, and then it just never happened. I went home that day and pulled out my list. I looked at it, really looked at it, for the first time in years. I was 75 years old. Linda was gone. My body ached in ways it never had before. My energy wasn't what it used to be, and I realized with a sharp, painful clarity that most of the things on that list would never happen. I couldn't take Linda to Paris because Linda was dead. I couldn't build furniture because my hands shook too much from arthritis. I couldn't write my grandfather's stories because I'd forgotten most of them. He'd been dead for 50 years, and the details had faded from my memory like old photographs left in the sun. That's when it hit me. Really hit me. I didn't run out of time. I wasted it. Every year I said someday, I was choosing to let another year pass. Every time I waited for the right moment, I was throwing away the moment I had right then. And here's what nobody tells you. There is no right moment. There's only the moment you're in. That's it. That's all you get. I sat in my living room that night, holding that list, and I cried. I'm not a man who cries easily, but I cried because I finally understood what I'd done. I'd spent 60 years preparing to live instead of actually living. The next morning, I called a piano teacher. I was 75 years old, and my fingers were stiff, but I didn't care. I started lessons the following week. It was hard. My brain didn't absorb information the way it used to. My hands cramped. I had to practice simple scales over and over, but I kept going. 6 months later, I could play a simple version of Fur Elise. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't smooth, but I played it alone in my living room, and I thought about Linda and how she would have smiled to hear it. I bought woodworking tools and took a class at the community college. I was the oldest person there by 30 years. The young instructor was patient with me as I learned to use a table saw, how to measure twice and cut once, how to sand until my arms ached. I built a simple bookshelf. It's crooked. The joints aren't perfect, but it's in my living room, holding Linda's favorite books, and every time I look at it, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Pride. Accomplishment. The satisfaction of actually doing something instead of planning to do it someday. I started writing down my grandfather's stories. I couldn't remember everything, but I wrote what I could. I called my cousin Margaret, who's 84 now, and she remembered things I'd forgotten. Together, we pieced together what we could. It'll never be the book I imagined, but it's something. It exists. I did it. Last year, when I was 79, I took a trip. Not to Paris. That was Linda's dream, and it felt wrong to go without her. But I rented an RV and drove through the Southwest for 3 weeks. I stopped at small towns. I talked to strangers. I ate at local diners. I saw the Grand Canyon at sunrise. I was alone, and I'm not going to lie, that hurt. But I went. I didn't wait anymore. Then, 3 months ago, I had that heart attack in my garage. I was working on a small table, another woodworking project. The pain hit like a sledgehammer to my chest. I collapsed. My neighbor heard the noise and called 911. As I lay on that hospital bed, hooked up to machines, staring at those fluorescent lights, I thought about that list again. And I realized something. I'm grateful I started. Even at 75. Even after Linda was gone. Even though I'd wasted so many years. Because if I kept waiting, I would have died with nothing. I would have gone to my grave having never tried. Having never done anything except plan and wait and say someday. Now let me talk to you. Whoever you are, whatever age you are, reading this or listening to this, you have a list too. Maybe it's written down. Maybe it's just in your head. But you have things you want to do. Things you dream about. Things you tell yourself you'll do someday. Here's the truth. Someday is not a date on the calendar. It's not a place you arrive at when conditions are perfect. It's a lie you tell yourself to avoid the fear and discomfort of actually doing something. You think you'll have time. You think there will be a better moment. You think that when you're less busy, when you have more money, when the kids are grown, when you retire, when things calm down, then you'll do it. But I'm here to tell you that moment never comes. Life doesn't calm down. There's always another crisis, another responsibility, another reason to wait. My wife died at 70 having never seen Paris. My friend Paul died at 73 having checked off 2 items out of 17. My neighbor died at 68 having never learned to paint, which she'd wanted to do since she was a girl. And here I am at 80, having wasted 47 years of my life waiting for the right time to start living. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but I'm busy. I have responsibilities. I have bills to pay. I have people depending on me. I had all of that too. And you know what? I still had time. I had evenings. I had weekends. I had lunch breaks. I had pockets of time scattered throughout my days that I filled with television, with worry, with busy work, with meaningless scrolling through things that didn't matter. I could have taken piano lessons at 40 instead of 75. I could have learned woodworking at 50 instead of 76. I could have written my grandfather's stories at 60 when I could still remember them clearly. But I didn't, because I was waiting for someday. Here's what you need to understand. Starting is terrifying. Actually doing the thing you've been dreaming about means facing the possibility that you might fail, that you might not be as good as you imagined, that it might be harder than you thought. It's easier to keep dreaming. It's safer to keep planning. It's more comfortable to keep saying someday. But someday will kill you. Not literally, though in my case, it almost did. But it will kill your dreams. It will kill your possibilities. It will kill the person you could have become. When I started piano lessons at 75, I was terrified. I was embarrassed. Here I was, an old man who could barely move his fingers, trying to learn something most people start as children. I made mistakes constantly. I sounded awful, but I did it anyway. And now I can play. Not well, but I can play. And that's more than I could do when I was just dreaming about it. When I took that RV trip last year, I was scared. I'd never traveled alone. I worried about breaking down in the middle of nowhere, about getting lost, about being lonely. And yes, there were moments of loneliness. There were moments when I missed Linda so much it physically hurt. But I also watched a sunrise over the desert that took my breath away. I ate the best barbecue I've ever had at a place I never would have found if I hadn't taken that trip. I met a couple in their 80s who were on their own adventure, and we sat and talked for hours about life and loss and the courage it takes to keep moving forward. Those experiences exist because I stopped waiting. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Right now. Today. Not someday, today. Look at your list. Whatever it is. The thing you've been dreaming about. The thing you tell yourself you'll do when conditions are perfect. Start it now. Start it scared. Start it imperfectly. Start it even though you don't feel ready. Take the first step today. Not the whole journey. Just the first step. Want to write a book? Write 1 paragraph today. Want to learn an instrument? Research teachers today. Want to travel somewhere? Look at flights today. Want to change careers? Update your resume today. Want to reconnect with someone? Send a message today. Want to start exercising? Do 10 minutes today. The step doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Because here's what I've learned in my 80 years on this planet. The only thing worse than failing at something is never trying at all. The only thing worse than being bad at something is letting fear keep you from starting. The only thing worse than running out of time is wasting the time you have. I wasted 47 years. I can't get those years back. Linda and I will never go to Paris together. I'll never hear her play piano again while I play alongside her. We'll never take that road trip, stopping at every interesting small town, holding hands as we watch the sunset from some scenic overlook. Those possibilities are gone, dead and buried with my wife. But I have now. I have today. I have whatever time is left. And I'm not wasting another second of it. I'm 80 years old. I've had 2 heart attacks now. I know my time is limited. Every morning I wake up is a gift I don't take for granted. And you know what? I'm okay. Not happy. I miss Linda every single day. But okay, because I'm finally living. Not perfectly. Not the way I imagined back when I was 33 with that brand new list. But I'm living. Actually doing things instead of planning to do them someday. That bookshelf I built. My granddaughter asked me to build one for her college apartment. So I did. It's sitting in her dorm room right now, crooked joints and all, and she tells everyone her grandfather made it for her. Those stories I wrote about my grandfather, I gave copies to all my relatives last Christmas. My cousin cried when she read them. I'd forgotten so much of this, she said. Thank you for preserving this. The piano? I play every Tuesday morning. My neighbor's kid, who's 8, heard me playing once and asked if I could teach her. So now she comes over on Saturdays, and I teach her what little I know. Her mom told me last week that it's the highlight of her daughter's week. These things wouldn't exist if I'd kept waiting. These moments wouldn't have happened. These connections wouldn't have been made. Because I stopped saying someday and started saying today. You have a choice right now. You can close this, nod your head, think that's a nice story, and then go back to waiting for someday. Or you can decide that today is the day you stop waiting. I can't tell you which to choose. That's yours to make. But I can tell you this. I'm 80 years old, and I'm running out of time. You might be 30, 40, 50, 60. You might think you have plenty of time. But my wife thought she had time at 70. My friend Paul thought he had time at 73. My neighbor thought she had time at 68. They were all wrong. You don't know how much time you have. None of us do. The only time you have for certain is right now. This moment. Today. Don't waste it waiting for someday. Someday is a trap. It's a beautiful, seductive trap that will steal your entire life if you let it. Start now. Start scared. Start small. But start. Your future self, whether that's next year or 40 years from now, will thank you. I promise you that. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with every person you know who's been saying someday for too long. Leave a comment and tell me what you're going to start today. Not someday. Today. The choice is yours. But make it now.